right, so how many of us would admit that there is lack of logic in the things we buy in today's world? That there's very little logic to the way we make purchases. Let's take, for instance, our automobiles. Now, I know there's some of you out there who could make a logical conclusion to something like, for instance, a 1-ton pickup truck. How many times you guys see a 1-ton pickup truck? I know, David, we brought you all the way here up from Atlanta just to show us your pickup. Did you bring your pickup truck with you?
No, we flew.
You flew. Oh, I was hoping you bring that dual-wheel 1-ton pickup truck. But what is logic in a pickup truck like that, guys? What do you think that logic is to that thing? You know, if it's such an illogical purchase or illogical purchase. Now, David has managed to put some logic behind it because he has an RV. He has a big RV, right? Yet there are those people who would say, for the money you spent on an RV, you could just get a hotel room too, right? There's logically that RV he drags us home with him, right? Basically on those vacations, right? Now there's some logic to that. I guess we don't have to look for a hotel room. He can piece together some logic to make it work, but there are many people who would say that's a lot of money to just buy something we use every now and then. Now he does use it more often, so he is justifying it to himself by going on these little short trips with ATVs and things like that. You do those little trips for yourself. And so he's done a great job of justifying in his own mind and to make it justifiable. But how many people buy 1-ton pickup trucks that really didn't need one? Yeah. Anytime you see a guy who's like not a farmer, you probably could say he didn't really need one, right? Or some guy's not dragging around a hay wagon or something like that. Why does he need that 1-ton pickup truck, right? Yet how many do you see out there driving around? Yeah. How about the Cadillac Escalade? Is that a logical purchase? You could buy the exact same truck with the Chevy logo on it for about $20,000 less, right? You can buy like a Chevy Tahoe and trick it out. You could buy it a lot cheaper, right? Yet, is the Escalade a popular vehicle? Would you say it's popular? Yeah, it's a very, very popular truck. Matter of fact, many of you might even want one someday. You never even know. What's the difference between the Cadillac Escalade and the Chevy Tahoe, really, though? The Cadillac logo. Because that's how I roll, Chief. That's how you do it, right? So, who would agree that a lot of what we purchase is really an emotional decision, that we don't buy things very logically as a country in this United States. Thank God we don't either, because the Americans, we buy cars too often, we buy iPods too often, we buy TV sets too often. When's the last time you threw a TV set out that didn't work? When's the last time you threw out an iPod that was totally broken and didn't work, but you bought a new one? Guess what? They're on their 6th generation of iPod. Guess who bought like 90% of the 6th generation? People who already had purchased the first 5. What happened to the old ones? They're all broken? Or you think somebody's kids got a bunch of iPods now loaded up with 70s music on it, like my kid does? So, do people buy things emotionally or logically, really? Most of it's emotional. Most of it is emotional. There has to be an undercurrent of logic to it, though. It can't just be completely emotional. You can't just sell something without any logic to it. So it does have to have a small, minute amount of logic. Here's kind of the formula. It's 99% emotion, 1% logic. It has to have some string or strand of logic to it. You won't just buy it for no reason at all. So, if people buy emotionally, let me ask you a question. As contractors, how are we trained? Where's our training system come from? Is it from an emotional teacher? Imagine yourself back at the trade school at your local college, or back at the last seminar you went to at the manufacturer. Was that a big rah-rah event where they had dancing girls and hula hoops and the Las Vegas lights, the lights of Vegas? Were they at the last trade thing you went on, our 410A, the last version of that, whatever we talked about there, right? The new unit that's coming out, we have to learn how to do the technical doodads, set the dip switches on the circuit board. That's a real humdinger. That seminar, huh? That guy's up with people, I'll tell you that. He makes Tony Robbins look boring, doesn't he? It's probably some guy who used to work at Sears, isn't it? You know what I'm saying? Some guy with a gray shirt on with a pencil protector in his pocket, and he's just reading from the book, basically. And he's reading, and you're wondering, why can't I just read myself? Why do I need this guy reading to me in the classroom right now? He's reading from a PowerPoint. He's got every single line. He's reading from every single line of the PowerPoint, isn't he? Is that a very emotional way to get trained? So we're trained like complete logical people. Take wire A and put it to point B, set dip switch C, and touch a wire to point 101, wait 5 seconds, and voila, it works. Right? So something like that. Superheat, we have to find the exact removal of both latent and sensible heat. Right? So we take the temperature of the suction line and see what our latent and sensible heat removal is, and there we have it, air conditioning. We are air conditioned now. Right? So it's like we're very logical in what we're trying to do. Unfortunately, people don't buy logic. They buy emotional. So we're 99% logic in what we are doing, but people buy 99% emotionally in what they buy. Would you agree with that? Is that a good assessment of the situation? Do you see why now sometimes we butt heads? And why people say, I'm not going to pay that kind of money for that part? So when you go to somebody with an igniter and you say, I got this bad igniter, and it costs $350, and they're going, are you crazy? That thing can't cost more than $15 for that stupid thing. And you'd have to disagree. You'd say it actually costs like $12 for the thing. It's actually less than that. So logic is not the thing you could sell. It is the thing that makes it stick, though. You have to have a reason why. It has to be some logic to it. One without the other creates imbalance. The law of balance is that everything has to strike an emotional and logical balance. So if you're only bringing things logically to people, like we have a broken, we have a fracture in the refrigerant line and it's leaking Freon, therefore I will fix the fracture and add refrigerant. That's logical, right? There's no emotion to that argument. Therefore, there's nothing there to buy. People don't feel excited about buying it. Now it's like, well, how much does it cost to just braze it up? What are you talking about, 15 minutes? You made it sound so easy. They're going, what's that, like $100? Because you made it sound like it just happened. The way you described it made it sound like 2 seconds, right? Yeah, we got a bad evaporator coil, and we're going to go ahead and put a new one in, slide a new one in there. That should be like $2,000. Are you crazy? That's where you're crazy. It's too much money. Because you're producing a logical solution where you needed to produce an emotional one for people. You know, you can still do, the good news is you can still do the logical thing, which is to fix the evaporator coil, but you have to create an emotional argument to do it. That's the difference. And that's why people will buy emotionally as opposed to buying logically. Confusion and worry decline the ability to decide. So if people are confused, let me ask you a question. When people start hearing about evaporator coils, or start hearing about bus bars inside an electrical system, or start hearing about the lead joint or the ball cock inside of a toilet, does that confuse people, or does that make them understand what you're talking about more clearly? It's much more confusing. When you say I have something that's evaporating inside my furnace, it's like, why am I going to buy something that's evaporating? It's like it's practically sounds like it's leaving me as I'm buying it. Why would I want to make that purchase, right? It devalues the purchase of what you're talking about there. So how can you produce a language that's going to make it sound more valuable so you're not using the same language that the industry uses? Because the industry language is jargon, and jargon creates lack of value. That's what it does. Confusion and worry decline the ability to decide. Confidence and proof defeat that ability. So if you're confident and you've got proof that this is what we're going to need to do, what it does, what will this thing do for you, you're going to be much better off. Knowing who finds the buyer's code, meaning that if you can know who the buyer is, you're more likely to produce a presentation that's on code, right? For instance, let's say you had a bad evaporator coil, and you found that this buyer, they had an Al Gore bumper sticker on their car. And you saw that they had the CD or the DVD of Inconvenient Truth playing on the TV set when you're there. And you saw I Heart the Environment, some kind of poster on the wall. And you just might ask somebody just to confirm it, because you're not quite sure yet. You still want to ask, right? Say, John, is somebody involved with the environment here? Oh, yeah, that's my wife. She just loves the environment. What about you? What do you think about it? Why, Joe, I think it's a big crock, the whole thing. The green movement, I think it's a crock. Really, what do you think that for, John? Well, I think that that's just the way that the left wing's trying to get us to buy more junk. I think that's not going to, I don't believe in it 100%. So what'd you learn here now? The wife is green, husband, not so much. So, are you going to be on code talking to this guy about selling him a green solution on this coil? No. If you start mentioning anything about the R410A or start mentioning things about the environment, the EPA, Big Brother, he ain't going to like that. So what is this guy about? What's he about then? You have to ask more questions. So John, what do you do for fun? What kind of things do you do? Well, I love playing golf. Golf is my passion. Let's say he's a golfer. Really, what's the most recent? Who's the best player recently? I haven't followed the golf too much lately. Who's the best guy? Well, right now Tiger's coming. He starts telling you the whole thing, right? He's into it. So now I go back to him with the packages. Would I be more on code to say, instead of calling it an evaporator coil, I might call this this is my master's heat absorption system renovation. This is like getting the green jacket of air conditioning. We're going to go ahead and this is like playing on the 18th hole at Augusta on this one. I basically gut out the entire inside part of the system, replace the heat transfer system, give you a 10-year leak-free warranty on this thing. You can't write a check anymore for this. This is like you're getting the front row at Augusta on the 18th. If I said those words, would it be more on code with that guy? Yeah, that's why I could sell more to that guy, because I know what he's about. I'm learning a student of my customer to change my package, not even written. The writing part of it, I wouldn't even change the writing. I might just call it a premium plus option, but I might throw in the other verbiage, knowing that this guy, who he is and what he's about. So knowing who somebody is or what makes them tick will help you create a language that's going to sell this call a lot better. Here's the crime. When you're trying to sell the same options to the same different people, that's not going to be very emotional. You might get a portion of them to be emotional. That's why you're going to be inconsistent. I'll tell you right now, when you say you're looking for consistency, Dustin, it would be because you're not on code with people more. That you have to find what's the right code. You have to learn about what these people are about, and then produce that solution on a consistent basis to that right person, just the exact language. So what kind of things are people into? Are they into their family? Are they into travel? Are they into baseball? What is it? What is this person about? Not just the whole family, but this one guy, the one person I'm selling to. If you can find what that is and then produce a solution that carries verbal packaging around that, you're going to be much more successful. The example of different buyer codes, what are some people about? Go ahead and tell me, what do you think some people you've seen, what are they about? What are some of the codes that you've seen out there? Reduce the person down to one word. What would it be?
Sportsman.
Sportsman, a guy who loves outdoors, an outdoorsman maybe, right? Something like that? So somebody who hunts and fishes up in your area. So you could produce a code that would be on code with them, because you might yourself be like that, right? So instead of saying that you're an outdoorsman, you could say, what would be some ways to package your solutions that would make, what's the most premium thing? The premium outdoorsman thing. What's the best thing an outdoorsman could do? What's the best thing a sportsman could do? What is it? Come on, what is it? Well, you are one, right?
Yeah.
How would you know you had a great day if you were a sportsman? You bagged the big one, right? This is like the 5-point package. This is like the 10-point. What's the best deer you can get? I don't shoot deer for a living, but what's 14? This is like our 18-point deal. This is like bagging the 18-point buck on this one. You could just say that. You don't have to put it. You have to write it down. You know what I'm saying there? I'm not saying you got to get silly with your packages and make these packages in writing like that. Just make the packages premium plus, premium standard, whatever you do. But then describe it like this. Say, John, you're gonna like this top one. You know how you go deer hunting every year? This one's like if you just bagged a 16-point buck. This one is like, this was a 300-pounder. This is unbelievable. This one is, it's got everything in it. It's all inclusive. This is a little fat though. It's got a little fat in this one though too, because it's got everything in it. I can tell you that. So you can explain it like that. Now you're on code with the guy, right? Because if you're talking about something else with that kind of a person, like going to a knitting class or something like this is about knitting, to the guy who is a sportsman, he's like, that doesn't interest me, right? I have no interest in that. Do you see where you might be a little off sometimes if you're not doing that? If you don't have any of this stuff at all, you never use any of this stuff. Like I was selling to a guy in New England one time. I was doing ride-alongs, and he was a Red Sox fan. He had the front row box, in the box there, the second row at the Red Sox in Fenway Park. So I called the top option my Skybox package. This is just like, this is at Fenway, the Skybox, where they serve the shrimp and the lobster and all you can eat. Beer keeps flowing in this one. He's like, yeah, I like that. I always wanted to go up there. I mean, I like my seat now. It's pretty good, but I still like to try that sometime. So yeah, well, you can try it now because I'm going to give you that in this top package here. And he went ahead and bought it. So the bottom line is that to create emotion and to be on code, people buy things emotionally and they justify it logically.